Jonathan Schanzer, the Vice President of Research for the Defense of Democracies, joins us now. He's also a former terrorism analyst at the Treasury Department, looked into terror financing, so a good person to talk to about this. Jonathan, tell us a little bit more about UNRWA and how our $300 million is being used.
Well, UNRWA has been around for a long time, really since almost the beginning of the conflict, and it plays sort of a dual role. On the one hand, it provides a lot of services to Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. But one of the problems that we've encountered with UNRWA is that it doesn't actually only provide services to the actual refugees from 1948 or perhaps 67. It is now bestowed upon the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of these original refugees. And so over time, UNRWA has actually exacerbated the conflict. They've made it so that the original 800,000 refugees have become almost 5 million, making this conflict much more difficult to solve.
And why is that?
Well, look, the knock on UNRWA is that it has become an agency that is dedicated to bloating its own coffers. It sees the refugees as their sort of clients, as opposed to people who they're trying to settle. You have to remember that the United Nations has gone out of its way to settle every other refugee population in history, but they have not done so with the Palestinians, and that's the only reason why UNRWA exists.
What is the relationship between UNRWA and Hamas?
Well, it's a complicated one, to say the least. On the one hand, it's a UN agency, and it's supposed to be doing the work of the West. On the other hand, if you look at the people who work for UNRWA, a lot of them are Hamas. They're teaching Hamas materials, and of course, they're working in a territory that has been governed and controlled by Hamas, so they have to operate according to Hamas rules. This has made things extremely difficult for UNRWA to operate in, but also raises some very troubling questions about whether they are acting in some ways as a partner.
Well, I asked you this because of your background in terror financing and laws and watching where our money is heading. Is my taxpayer money funding Hamas indirectly because I'm funding UNRWA?
Look, it's not a simple question to answer, but, you know, look, we have found, for example, and you heard the director of UNRWA just say that there were 3 different schools that had rockets stored within. There was one report of a clinic controlled by UNRWA where there was a tunnel underneath that was booby-trapped and ended up killing 3 Israeli soldiers. You know, and again, it does provide the salaries, it pays for the livelihood of a number of Hamas members, and so to a certain extent, yes, indirectly, UNRWA is providing support to Hamas.
Gives us something to think about today. Jonathan, great to see you as always. Thank you.
My pleasure.